Hello and welcome back to my podcast, now rebranded as The Right Click, a podcast about mental health in gaming. I'm your host, Darth Quatus, and today I'm joined with my friends, Cedric and Krangledangle.
Hey, what's up?
So, Cedric, do you want to say hi?
Yep, that's me. The guy, the name you just said, that's me.
Very brief, Krangledangle.
He's a man of few words. I'm a streamer, real small time, tiny time streamer on Twitch, and that's what this conversation is going to be about, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to be talking about. Pardon?
I feel like you gave away too much there. Where's the mystery?
I think the number one rule of podcasting is to interrupt the host at every opportunity. We're doing that.
Isn't it the host interrupting the guests? Isn't that that's what I see all the time?
One of the two.
Yeah. But now we're going to be talking about just coping with the COVID lockdown because for those who don't know, Victoria has entered a second stage of lockdown due to the second wave of coronavirus. And this time we're up to stage 4, which is pretty restricted. Like there's a curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. amongst other things. And I think we're only 2 weeks in and we're all going pretty nuts. So we thought it'd be a good time to talk about it and discuss, how we're coping, how we're going, and how games sort of come into that, and streaming and stuff like that. So So Cedric, I think we'll start with you because I know that you have issues with internet connectivity. So how are you coping with COVID?
I mean, it'd be so much easier if NBN just did its job and just set connection up to my house. But no, I have to use mobile internet. So yes, I could cut out at any moment. To your point.
That's a nice loophole you've got for yourself there. If you don't want to be in the podcast,
just drop out.
Sorry, it's a problem.
I mean, for me, I don't know. I'm either a saint, this enlightened soul in lockdown, or I'm barely crawling out alive. It's either or. There's no middle ground. Right now, I made myself a nice little studio. I've been trying to get back into reading books, but then for I think 2 months straight, it was just eating McDonald's. And only a week ago, I was eating healthy foods. I really had to change things around. On a good note, I stopped smoking. On a bad note, I replaced it with McDonald's. So
I don't know what's worse.
I thought you were going to say, on a good note, I've stopped smoking, and on a bad note, I've started injecting heroin.
Exactly. I mean, that's the point. I'm just replacing one bad thing with another. But you have to be easy on yourself. You can't put too much pressure, right?
I wonder about that, because aren't diamonds created under the most intense, highly pressured circumstances and situations? Aren't diamonds formed because of intense pressure and scrutiny?
Yeah.
Are you calling me a diamond?
No, but if you take that as
I kind of see myself more of a rock.
Aren't diamonds rocks?
Pretty cool, huh?
Aren't diamonds rocks?
I'm not too sure. I don't know.
But this idea, and that's the point that you raised, but this idea of pressure and development, if you take that idea of a diamond, they're made under some of the most intense pressure, and there's this highly coveted thing that means a whole lot to a whole lot of people.
I feel like people they put too much pressure on themselves, and then they don't do anything because it's lockdown, right? And you got it's like that picture people kept sending around, the Maslow hierarchy of needs,
right?
And that we're in that kind of security kind of level, and the second of the pyramid. So so people have to be more forgiving of themselves, but at the same time, you go from being productive humans to sitting on the couch. Could be good for a week, but after the second week, you're like, "Am I a piece of shit?"
Right.
And then and then you have to fight that. And so you're trying to stay on top of things, but then weeks go by and you're like, just ate nothing but McDonald's. But then another week comes and you're doing push-ups every every day. It's on and off. That's how.
Yeah,
it's
Krangle's
like
doing
a
push-ups
roller
every day.
coaster.
I make sure of
well,
it.
Too many,
Yeah,
man. Too many.
Darth is doing that whenever I'm on stream. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I see. I'm kind of on the opposite side of that. I think sometimes we get away with too much. We let ourselves get away with too much, and we're happy enough to think, oh, I'm taking a me day, or
Mm.
or this is my week, and I'm doing it for me, and I don't know whether that's a good enough excuse. Sure, we're in like lockdown, and the circumstances aren't anything to be sniffed at, right? But from a personal standpoint, at least, I know that I've mentioned this on stream too, and Darth sometimes nods his head and chat, at least when I talk about being productive or feeling like you're being productive, and thinking, oh well, if I'm going to play video games on the weekend, I could at least stream them. So if I'm streaming, there's some sense of accomplishment because at least I'm getting content out of there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah. There's like a sense of progress.
Yeah.
Like you're
and I
not
have
just
this-
playing games for the sake of it.
Yeah. And I have
But like
this
how,
thought-
but like how interesting is that? Like like imagine, for example, this podcast or Tim's, Krangle's. The worst when it comes to ducking. The worst. Okay. Anyways,
I'm Tim, in case
it's
anyone's
like
wondering.
Krangle's stream, or it's my, or like my podcast that I want to start up, or that I'm working in digital marketing. That would not be the case if it wasn't for lockdown.
Right.
If there was,
Yeah,
if there was no lockdown, I would probably, like for example, like I've read a book for the first time in 2 years. I mean, I was kicking myself that I can't pick up that book and read it. It took 2 years. It took a lockdown for me to be like, okay, maybe I will read that book.
Yeah.
So there is this element of just maybe we're moving too fast as humans, and maybe we just needed like a reflection period.
And this is another
Correction.
thing. I think when this lockdown happened, and this could be purely a Victorian thing because I don't live and I don't really have much contact or any contact with people from other states, so I don't know how they're going. But this whole introspective period of being stuck at home and thinking, oh, I can do some baking, I can do some knitting, I can make some masks, I can record some music, I can write a story. It is very much focused on this idea of being stuck at home. So what are we going to do? The fact that you don't have to go into work physically cuts like, I don't know, an hour or each for travel time. I mean, it does for me. It cuts about
same.
an hour each way travel time.
Same.
So 2 hours a day, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 hours a week I have in the pocket this
Oh
time.
yeah, that's a really good point.
But like
Never
you're
thought about that.
saying, we didn't have that time necessarily in the pocket, but now that we do we feel obliged or responsible to do something with it, or is it just
With that
because
time.
we have that time and we're thinking, oh boy, I don't even know what to do? Like our lives for so long have been fitting into these boxes, and now the boxes are a little wider, and we're able to fit more stuff in there. But we're so used to living to, I don't know, 100% of our box, right? Our box is 100 pixels by 100 pixels or whatever. And this time around, it's 150 by 150. And yet our lives for so long have been fit into that 100 by 100 box. We've got 50 on each side. So what do? Start a podcast, start writing, or feel obliged to do those things because we have that time? Or is that social media with people
Well, I
sending
mean,
out
like,
pictures and videos and all these like, self-focused improvements?
well, no, with like even before the lockdown, there's so many people who were just unproductive. Like they were just their expectations of what they want to accomplish compared to what they're doing now. Is there's always been that like disconnect. There's always feeling like they're feeling like, oh, actually, like, maybe I am.
But isn't that the
lazy.
human condition? Isn't the human
It is.
feel
It is the human
unfulfilled?
condition. I feel like the difference is we had a choice
Yeah.
when it comes to lockdown, and that choice was this: you can either be anxious, like sitting there watching every article after article that's there to kind of put you in a state of fear, and people just like writing like comments and fighting with other people who because they're scared of what's happening. Or you can be like, okay, well, I got to accept this is my new reality and to work within it. I feel like as soon as people like resist it as much as possible, then that's when it really hurts the person. But if you just accept it and you're like, okay, look, if I'm going to be in lockdown, maybe I'll read a book, maybe I'll upskill, maybe you've been working for like 10 years straight, so maybe it's okay to sit on the couch do nothing. Like that's not a bad choice.
And I wonder
Some
whether
people.
the word you're using is important. It's like, oh, maybe I could, or are some people feeling maybe I should?
Yeah.
Yeah, because could is very much like the possibility, whereas should has connotations of responsibility as opposed to, I guess, this idea of freedom.
I always heard that if you're going to
Choice.
do something, I always said if you're going to do something, do it 100%. And that includes being lazy. If you get up and you feel like being lazy, don't half-ass on be half
Right.
in to do work. Just be
Right.
lazy. Just be in the couch, just watch something, and just
Then
be
isn't-
fully lazy. And then if you're going to read a book, fully just get up and read a book. Like don't, because a lot of times we're stuck in limbo. We're stuck in our mind going, oh, maybe I should just rest. No, but maybe I should just read a book. And like, or maybe I should do some gardening, or maybe I should do this. You're caught up in all these thoughts. And you're not doing anything. Like you're not even relaxing. So many times, I've put myself in a bad state. Like there's like a week where I'm telling like friends and whatnot, hey, I'm busy, I can't do it because I had a busy schedule. But at the end of it, I did nothing because like I just couldn't get the work done. And, I just got myself into this confused state. And by the end of it, like me spending time with friends or me sitting on the couch would have been a better use of time.
So
But
then,
because
what were you doing during those times when you said you were busy?
I was in limbo. I was just like I didn't know whether to rest, get up, work, don't do work, go into YouTube, watch some videos, then go into like social media, and then okay, I'm going to do a bit of work. So you start to do a bit of work, and you get distracted. Maybe like someone calls you, and then you're cooking food, and then that's just the process for a week. So it's like you're not committing to anything. As in, like if you're going to cook, 100% commit to it. If you're going to sit down on the couch, be lazy, commit to it. There's no shame in being restful, but there is shame in if you're trying to rest, but your mind is going at 100% because you're not really resting.
But then, what about this idea of balance? Don't we always hear and aren't those words of like living with balance some like mantra that is so important to have? To committing 100% to things is too much.
Well, look, but it is balance though, because
you're fully committed to laziness and fully committed to work.
Yeah, but like it's not forever. Like if you're gonna like, let's say take it a day at a time. So today I'm feeling lazy. Well, be lazy. Just sit down and watch something. Just watch videos. You're feeling, like don't be wishy-washy. Like the balance comes. So many times I don't feel rested because my mind's like I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something when you're trying to rest. And then in the end, it doesn't feel like you're resting. It just feels like your body feels rested, but your mind feels alerted. So it's not really resting, right? And you can't really sleep, etc., etc.
Right.
So it is a balance to commit yourself 100%, but just it's like it could be 2 hours. Hey, I'm going to be doing this for 3 hours. Just do nothing, sleep in. I think it just depends on every person, right?
Isn't that a cop-out answer though? Back and say I think it depends.
Well, okay. For example, let's take one of our friends, who's been working for like 10 years and whatnot.
He comes to the docks, by the way.
Nah, I'm not saying any names. Just saying it's my friend.
Yeah.
Where like they work for 10 years straight, just non-stop working, getting up, working 5 days, just work. Maybe that person deserves to play games this entire time. Maybe it's a good time.
Why couldn't they have done that when they were working? And who's to say they weren't?
Well, it's not that, because like you're in this state where you feel like you always have to go, right? They call it the rat race for a reason. It feels like there's this like gnawing sense that you have to keep going, and it's this low buzz anxiety that you just get up, go to work, you come back, you're too tired, you go to sleep.
Yeah, but isn't that just because life is difficult? Isn't that just because it's hard to accomplish things?
Not necessarily. Just like it's the way that a person has set up their life, but it's not really healthy for them, right? I mean, like I've seen a lot more people. I've seen a lot of my friends be really creative during this time in lockdown. Like it could be something really. It could be a beneficial thing for the future for us to kind of reevaluate where we're going. Because right now, we were in a system where it's all about producing, making more results, and then we have to make it more than next year, and then it has to be more and more. We have to increase, we have to go. But the problem is the world is not it's not it's got finite resources. Like there's going to be a point where you just can't keep doing that.
I also
So-
wonder about whether, because I remember seeing like a snippet of the project, and they were talking about, and this was even before stage 4, so I can only imagine what people were thinking this time. But they were thinking, they'd polled people about life and how they feel about it moving forwards, and do they feel like COVID and lockdown has changed the way that we'd be living. Like 66% of them answered, yeah, that they would actually like life to be a little bit different after COVID. So
Yeah.
As in different as in slower?
yeah.
Yeah.
But less work, I think, was the overall takeaway point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
what-
it's such a
what's
good
the-
opportunity to make like massive reforms in, you know, how things are. Because like, for example, like this proves that a lot of jobs could be done at home, for example, and
Right.
people could be more productive at home, and you do save a lot of time by not having to travel, and you know, offices don't need to rent out, companies don't need to rent out offices and stuff to
Right.
house their employees. So there's like a whole bunch of things that people can use this time to reevaluate and stuff.
Yeah.
But
And this is the caveat, right? Like before, like humans are really reactive. We're so bad at being proactive. I mean, just take climate change for example. We just cannot change our behaviors to something that's about to happen. But if it's happened, like we have to actually change, right? I mean, it's either life or death, right? It's either you adapt or you fall short. So before lockdown, like workplaces were resisting. They're like, oh, you can't do this work from home. You can't do this work from home. And then as soon as lockdown happened, it's like, well, you have no choice. And then it was easy. And then it's like, we all adjusted.
I don't know if
Like-
they were saying that they couldn't do the work from home. I think that the work that had been done for so long wasn't done from home.
yeah,
The job was to be in that field with people and other employees.
Yeah, but like I think
This isn't necessarily the most productive way of working. It's just that the job, to a certain standard, can be done. I don't think that a lot of the work that is being done now from home is being done to the standard that it was prior to lockdown, and that's
like-
just a fact of the lockdown. That's not necessarily
Yeah.
the workers or the employers or the employers or ease fault. It's just that's the job. It requires FaceTime.
But look, we don't know that. All we know is the Australian economy, for example, has the productivity has been going down and down every year. Like we're becoming less productive as a country, and you know, so I mean, there could be many reasons, right? That could be the case, but we were being less productive. But usually, a lot of times, it's not. We don't do something. I used to think when I was young, I used to think that humans did things because it was the logical choice, and if we didn't do them, we decided it wasn't logical. But then as you get older, you realize no, like people are just really resistant to change. Like people would like the comfort of their life, even if it's not good, even if the life is slowly eating away at them because it's comfortable, it's familiar. And then you kind of see in this, you see people, as soon as they're forced to change, they will change because they have no other choice. But if you're given the choice, it doesn't matter if it's the better way, they will always choose. A lot of times they'll choose no. You know?
I think one thing that makes the lockdown really difficult is that feeling of losing that choice, because like you're talking about, like, you know, people can choose A or B, because they have that option to choose, obviously. But with lockdown, especially with the restrictions and stuff, I think a lot of people feel like that choice is taken away from them. Like from 8 p.m. onwards, you can't really go outside. Like you can, but like you're advised not to and stuff. Like
And people do though.
Yeah, like
And
you
that's
shouldn't
something
you shouldn't like, you know, invite people over to your house, you know, like a couple of people and the kid or something, because
right.
you're not supposed to, and people
You can't
feel
tell me what to do.
people
Well,
feel
like I said
suffocated.
yesterday,
Yeah.
I said yesterday, and that idea of, well, if someone is doing that and you see that, it just feels like this whole purpose is for nothing, because I'm sure that's representative of a group of people, it wouldn't just be a one-off. It'd just be a lot of people being
Mm.
like, well, and I haven't seen it. I haven't really seen that, but I'm not really looking, and I don't really live in an area where that is, it's full of young people that feel stifled by it.
Mm.
Here's an interesting point that I learned.
I will be the judge of that.
I was like, it was a TED talk. I forgot the name. Forgot everything else besides this point, where his argument was that people are most creative in when they're limited.
Yeah.
Like limitation
Yeah.
creates creativity.
Mm.
And that notion, for example, so like we have less choice, but ironically, giving people less choice gives them more choice in the long run. Because I don't know what you guys, but for me, like I get insane decision fatigue. Like if you give me too many choices, I don't know what to do. But if you go, hey, these are the parameters of your life or existence, or say just, hey, here are 3 pounds, easy, I'll choose that one. But if you go, here's 25 pounds, and then here's 25 different drinks and whatnot, then you realize, like the choices become more of a hindrance to you. So when if we're working from home, right, businesses would have to adjust. They would have to think of creative solutions, and then so they'll be more creative by default. So in this case, limitation could actually increase their I guess perception of choice or perceived choice.
Yeah, decision fatigue is a real thing, and I feel like that could be covered as well in this podcast at some point, because it is something interesting to think about, to talk about. And you can relate that to games as well. Like in games, there's so many freaking choices, like the choose your own adventure games. But anyway, I'm getting off a tangent.
Well, I mean, but it's a fair point. I mean, you wanted to talk about games, right?
Yeah, the fact that there are so many games to play.
I hate it.
I
absolutely hate it.
And I'm just noticing it as well, because when it comes to streaming, that's something that gives me something to do during this time. And if I was not working from home, I'd be streaming significantly less. So I'm streaming way more, that I have the time and the energy, and I guess the willingness to do it. And also, I guess that leads back to feeling like, well, it's at least something I'm doing.
Yeah.
An outcome.
Yeah.
But I'm so like burnt out on Dead by Daylight, and yet and I don't want to play it anymore, and yet it's probably the most so far at least, like the most.
It's your comfort zone, right?
Yeah,
I mean, right. You play because it's familiar. Like the idea of choosing another game is so. Like one of the reasons why I used to buy, say, maybe 5 books at a time. Like, oh, I like that book, or I like that book, or I like that game, and have 6 or 7 games. But I realized the more games or books or whatever it is,
would you actually get through them and read them or play them?
I won't even start one, because I realized the huge task ahead of me. The only reason I start is you just have to choose one. You'll be like, okay, choose this one, and then you play. Oh, this is the one book I'm going to read. But say if I go into Steam now, it'd just be like, okay,
260 something games,
and then after you're like, oh, this might be a good game. It's like, oh, there's this game, that's alright. And then you go, maybe Dead by Daylight.
Right.
Yeah, it's a game that you're comfortable with. You can just jump on it. You've played it so often that it just becomes easier. Right?
And I suppose this goes back to that idea of comfort, and what you were saying about people being hesitant to change or resistant to change. If we can convince ourselves, or if we are actually seeing results from doing the same thing over and over again, right? So my example would be that most of the people that have joined my stream, or most of the people that have subscribed, or most of the people that have followed the stream and followed the channel would be from Dead by Daylight. Now that could be a false assumption, because it would just mean that I'm playing Dead by Daylight more. Of course, more people would actually join Dead by Daylight, right?
Actually, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be it? And instead, my thought process is, well, no, it's actually Dead by Daylight that's doing it, right? And not the fact that I am streaming a game and people are hopping on.
Yeah.
Which makes it difficult to change. And you're talking about comfort. Yeah, it's comforting to be familiar with a game and a set of mechanics. And I've said it, and this is the thing, I guess this will be my catchphrase for the podcast, but I've said it before, when I feel like Dead by Daylight's one of those games, for me at least, that I feel is easier to talk over and play at the same time. So you can get the people who are wanting to watch the gameplay stick around, and you're also getting the people who might just be there for the stream or the chat or the streamer interaction as well. But say playing Dark Souls before that, I'd be really focused on the game because it's one of those
you'd be a lot
games
more
that
switched on.
I feel is not worthy of my attention. It is worthy of my attention, but I'm also wanting to play it in a certain way because it's not a multiplayer game, and there are stakes and consequences. And then you'd see other streamers play them, and they're doing like no hit runs, they're doing consumable only runs. And they don't even care because they've just gone through it so often.
Like I wouldn't be surprised in the future that we move to like more playing micro games or whatever it is, or watching micro series, because there's so many choices. Like when you watch a series and it's like 10 seasons, you're like,
yeah, right.
I can't put my brain through that.
You can just jump in and jump out at any time.
Like a micro game, like people make like a small game and it'll take about a few hours or like 2 hours, like whatever it is, and you pay like $1. Like, oh sweet, this is a nice little game, and they adjust it. That for me makes sense. If I know a game was only going to take like 30 minutes but like we've incentivized like games being as long as possible to leech every money from it as possible. But like for me, like there's just so much information. Like we're getting to the point that it's just, I mean, I guess we can relate this into like lockdown, because it's just being from home and like trying to figure out like, okay, where should I move my life to, blah blah blah, all this thinking, should I start reading this book or play guitar, whatever it is. And then you go into the internet and there's so much information. It's just information overload. Everything's overloaded with stuff, so much so that it actually starts to affect you, that a lot of times they tell you just get off social media. In fact, just close the internet and your life would be instantly better. And it's probably true. And so like I wouldn't be surprised if like I would probably love it. Just micro games, simple games that you can play with a short story, and then you're done with it, right? And then you can just move on. I wish.
I want to go back. Sorry. Go.
No, go on.
I wanted to go back to something that you raised earlier on about. Well, pretty much you talked about how you've got like a set routine. You're working your job, and you've got the travel to and from, and then you've got the routine built around that, because obviously your job would be your number one priority. It's something that you need to be there at a specific time, do specific tasks and stuff.
Right.
And you build your daily routine around that, and it's a structure that you follow every day. Right. And because of that, like everything is based around that. And then suddenly with the whole lockdown thing, that whole structure that you formed is sort of toppled down.
Yeah.
And that's why you feel the need to like fill that void sort of thing. Like you've got these, you talked about the metaphor of boxes, and now you feel the need to fill those boxes with other things. And I think that's also why you might be feeling burnt out with streaming, because like
why would you say boxed in?
You feel like it's something that you're doing not because you want to, but because you have to do it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
You might not even want to do it, but you're still doing it. So with that sort of
No, go on. I didn't mean to cut
I was just gonna say, like with that sort of understanding, then because the way I see it, gaming would be, or streaming would be, a coping mechanism to help you get through the times. But in that regard, it's kind of become the opposite. It's kind of like making it just becoming like a temporary distraction sort of thing.
Yeah.
That prevents you from figuring out a better way to cope, maybe.
I think that's an interesting point. I'd be lying if I said that I started every stream feeling like I wanted to stream, right? So I've got a stream scheduled in like an hour and a half. And that's fine. But it's not like I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I can't wait, I'm so excited. I'm actually thinking, what am I going to play? I'm not going to play Dead by Daylight anymore. I said I'm not going to play Dead by Daylight. But it'd kind of be easy just to play Dead by Daylight. And maybe I'd get a good clip out of it, or a few good clips. And that would make it worthwhile. So even though I'm really not kind of enjoying the game, I'm not super invested in the game. I mean, emotionally, it would, anger and frustration. with some very light feelings of being rewarded with wins. But at least there's content. I'm getting content from that, whether it's a clip or it's a follower or it's a subscription. But I doubt it. But it'd probably be like a clip. That would be probably, in my mind, something I could even control. Right? So you can't control how many people would follow your stream, but you could control the kind of content you're putting out there. And then outside of that, once the stream's over, come back and clip it or highlight it, and you've got marketable and digestible, like Cedric was saying, like, if you're talking about mini game or what we micro games, you'd have micro content. How many people are willing to stick around for a 3-hour stream? Well, probably a set amount of numbers. How many people are willing to watch a 30-second highlight from that stream? Well, I'm thinking way more.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I'm with you when you said that day by day it's just easy, and one of the reasons like I think you guys have been trying to get me to play games for a while and stuff. I used to play Dota. Like I played almost 8,000 hours of it.
Yeah. I don't think I have any game with 8,000 hours.
Mind you, like a lot of it was just being in the Steam lobby. So I would say more about like 5,000. That's still a lot.
That's
3,000 just chilling in the lobby.
An insane amount of time. Yeah.
That's a lot of time.
Like how many?
I'm just there.
How many hours is that into like weeks?
Well, 10,000 hours is what they say it takes to master a game. Like so not a game, to master a skill.
Yeah.
So I spent a whole skill worth.
Yeah.
On that. As in, like, if I spent that on anything else, I could have been a master of any trade.
Sure.
Anything.
Yeah.
You name it. So that's why there's always for me a hesitation to get back into games, and I dabble. But then when I start getting into it, I kind of freak out and I just kind of stop doing it because there's always that fear that I don't want to get sucked into something. Like
all right.
For example, like Hearthstone. Oh my god, there's no games that has ever taken money from me. Never.
Right. Yeah.
Except for Hearthstone. Except for Hearthstone. I don't know what it is. I've just recognized it's just no for me.
Okay.
Because I get so frustrated that they give me so many shit cards. I'm like, oh, now I gotta like pay for this, and they do it so well.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, I spent $100.
It's so easy to get sucked in.
And then I have to quit
to games.
I have to quit
yeah.
During COVID, and spending on games.
It's gambling, right? I mean, and that's what you're chasing if you're gambling, and especially now if we're in this lockdown, to just buy like a bunch of games and get like a dope and a rush from buying a game that's new. Because you're not getting it from anywhere else. You're not going out for drinks with friends, or you're not going out to in the cinemas, going to gigs or watching stand-up or whatever. You're sort of stuck at home working. The days are blending in. Just throw some money at it.
I know this.
Or buy stuff online, right?
I know this.
Cedric to me in a conversation that Amazon's business is booming during the lockdown because of how many folks are like, just ordering stuff online. I mean,
I've been so bad.
Online shopping has always been an issue. But just to have this idea of I have a little present from a past self coming to me in the future.
Yeah.
It would be pleasurable for that to happen.
And I've been thinking about this. I know that would never happen in life, but just, like when it comes to choosing a game, choosing a movie, all this kind of stuff, right. I've always thought if there was just one person just to tell me what to do. Hey, you're going to download and play that game. All right, cool.
Oh, you're submissive.
Oh yeah, but like no, you have 3 games to choose. No, like it's
not like a dumb friend.
Yeah, no, but like it's less that. It's like I want to spend my energy on the bigger decisions, right? Like all these little decisions really add up, and so instead of me thinking about, like Mark Zuckerberg, right? For example, he just wears the same clothes every day. That's the example they always give.
Yeah, but he's a robot, so he's a poor example.
That's true, exactly.
Or Albert Einstein, who would wear the same outfit.
Yeah. There's many people who don't like the idea of making little decisions constantly because it feels like it's drains from their life.
See, that's why I refuse to shower, because I'm using my mental capacity for.
Yeah.
If anybody asks why the flies buzzing around me, they're a sign of my brain power.
I'm actually gonna if it ever get to the chance that I start making a decent amount of money, let's say in the 6 figures, I'm happy to spend half on that.
6 figures is decent.
But like, I'm happy to spend half of that on like an assistant or like a nanny or something else, someone that can take away a lot of my jobs around the house, because for me, like, it's the small things that add up that I just can't handle.
Yeah.
And then it leads up. So if I rather be only earning $40,000 a year, as opposed to $100,000 a year. If I know that someone's there cutting the lawn every day, doing the dishes, or telling, hey, this is the email, this you have to get back to this person.
Right.
And, okay, cool. Like, here's your schedule for today. Cool, sweet, thank you. Right, like, I would read.
Then
Not
isn't
only
the
would I consider
responsibility?
it, I will do it.
The responsibility then is on you to actually follow through. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? You can lead a person needing structure and a sense of achievement in their life to their decisions and say, here, you need to watch this movie, but you can't like strap their eyeballs and strap their eyelids to their head and force them to sit and watch a film, right?
Yeah, true. I mean,
how productive would that be? You have someone telling you, hey, you need to reply to this email, and you're like, yeah, I'll get to it.
Yeah, then you can still put it off. That's true.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys have like any sort of final, I don't know, statements or maybe personal advice how you can incorporate gaming, or maybe how you can sort of veer off gaming a little bit during this lockdown, just to like close off?
About that, have we? Like that been a major touchstone. Talk about everything but that.
It's alright. The audience will know. They're living the experience.
I don't know. I'll defer first to Cedric to see what he says, so I can cover my response.
I'm definitely. Then I'm gonna defer to.
But I'm gonna.
No, okay. I'll take over. I'll say the advice if you're talking about in the context of games, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the main thing is try something different. Just try something different. I mean, like, this is the time for it. So, and if you are gonna do it, just choose one game and just try something else. Just get out of your comfort zone, because if there's one thing this year has brought, it's this level of uncomfortability, this changes and stuff. I think we need to embrace that. I think we need to get out of this like kind of sleepy state of just doing the same thing over and over again, and just play a new game. Either that, or if you play too many games, stop playing a game and do something else.
Yeah, with me, from my personal experience and from this conversation, what I think I'm gonna go do forward, coming from this, is set myself a more of a structure. So obviously I can't follow the same structure that I had before, because that's gone now during the lockdown. So I think if I can do like a structure, I do still work out every day, maybe have a more regular set time, meal times, sleeping times and stuff. And like do what you said as well, maybe try to do something new. Like I do have a whole ton of books to read, maybe do that, like take a bit of a break from gaming, like 2 hours a day, and just read instead. I think that could be something interesting to try for me.
Just to inject, just quickly, like structure is so important, but we also need to embrace chaos. Like chaos is something to be embraced, because like that's what leads you to do new things. That's what it's like, every story has like at the start they fall out of equilibrium. So you need to just push yourself into a new area. And like, although you have structure, you should always put in things like new structure. So like once every month, play one new game, then follow a structure after that, to just like add a little chaos into your life. Perfect.
Yeah. Krangle, did you have anything to add?
I don't know if I'm gonna give advice, because I feel like if I give advice, make me sound like a hypocrite. So
definitely.
You are hypocrites. Just say
We're
what
all.
you say then.
You say what.
I suppose my takeaway point. I don't know. I feel like, to me at least, gaming has always been a very personal thing. It's always been something I've done by myself. And every now and then, Cedric and I, when we were young, we'd like play Pro Evo, and that was great too.
Oh yeah.
And that's a different experience. Whereas these days, there's not that divide, I believe, between like single player and multiplayer, because you can be hanging in a Discord call with someone while you're playing like through a single player game. And like you mentioned, sitting in that Dota lobby for like 3,000 hours, whatever, is still part of your gaming experience, whether you're chatting with someone or going around looting orcs or something. I don't know what I would about gaming, apart from noticing it's become a huge force, and a big money making machine. My takeaway point, I suppose, would be careful with your money, because I'd hate to hear those Hearthstone stories, people getting hooked.
Well, I'll tell you what, once my NBN finally comes, could take like another month and a half. Yeah, we'll play more multiplayer games. Like I can just download anything right now. Like I'm so afraid that my internet's just gonna get cut off because I'm gonna run out of data.
Yeah.
And it's just like $10 a gigabyte. It's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
I suppose as a closing thought, that I think the strength of games is in replayability and how much you can get out of them in different ways. So if you're picking, following Cedric's advice and following his advice and picking like one game or two games to stick with, I suppose something I'm going to try as well is trying a different play style. But I suppose that's in a grand scheme of things of what's going on with lockdown and time constraints in 2 hours. So I don't know. I guess it all comes back to money, time, and the joy that you get out of those things in combination with games.
Yeah.
It's not really
Alright.
an answer, is it? But that's the best.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a pretty good closing thought, something for us to think about. And normally I do an extended sort of stream after this where we just talk about this and talk about with chat. But unfortunately, I do need to go. So thank you to both of you for joining me today. And I'll speak to you guys some other time, hopefully. We'll do this again.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right.
Appreciate it.
So thanks for listening, guys. That was Cedric, as you can see his Twitch handle on the bottom right, and krangledangle on the bottom left. Krangledangle is a streamer on Twitch. Cedric is one of my mods. They're both some my long-term friends, and I do recommend checking them out, checking them a follow. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please do let me know. If you have any suggestions or questions, just contact me some other way. If you have any ideas for future topics, let me know as well. I've got plenty of ideas, and I'm thinking of having this back on the regular, this podcast. But yeah, I'll have to abruptly end the stream there because I do need to go. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.